Hello everybody and welcome. Thank you for joining us today. With me I have the beautiful Crystal Leaman all the way from Utah, USA. Thank you so much for joining us, Crystal.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Oh, it's awesome having you here. And I'm going to introduce you now just to anybody who doesn't know who you are, maybe hasn't seen you before on my channel, let's say. Crystal is a powerful being. She is a death doula. She's an intuitive consciousness teacher that focuses on trauma and helps clients embrace their journey into finding their soul's purpose. Wow, have I got that right? Wow, that's a lot, just even saying that. I can feel it. Welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, it is a lot. It's interesting because, you know, regardless of what purpose we think we have here, there are still certain things that are in place on this human journey that we all can connect to. And it's kind of that level of awareness. And how does consciousness actually translate here in this reality? And that's kind of what I'm talking about.
Absolutely. I'm going to share actually the name of your workshop, because just to let everybody know, the reason we're having this chat is because Crystal, of course, is hosting one of the workshops, one of the 15, I think we have now, workshops on the day, which is August the 7th. The registration link is in the comments. Come and register. This is a free event, right? A free event all day long. You can choose the workshops you wish to join, all of them or some of them. And Crystal's workshop is on levels of consciousness and how it translates into this dimensional reality. That's the topic. And it's at 5 to 6 p.m. GMT +1. That's 9 o'clock your time, Crystal, isn't it? In MT, Mountain Time.
Yep.
Wow.
9 a.m. Mountain.
Would you like to share with those watching what you mean by levels of consciousness and how that translates into our reality here?
Absolutely. I can kind of give you a few examples. So one is, if you think that we're born and we have certain needs and we have these blinders, right? Our focus is on this, and what we can see is just within what we can see. And as our soul continues to expand, our needs are going to change, right? Our core needs as a human being. But then all blinders are going to begin to open and open. What can happen is certain life events don't come to completion around. So say, for instance, we are an organized religion. There's certain things, that beliefs that prevent us from stepping fully into what we feel called to do because there's some connection. There's some conflict within ourselves. It may be, that's just an example, right? But that may prevent, even though we might be able to see a little bit better, we can embody that space and continue to grow and expand because we're stuck and tied to something that's in conflict directly. So another way to look at this perhaps is, if there's events that have happened in your life and looking back, you self-sabotage and you hold a lot of resentment towards yourself because maybe you made a choice that wasn't in alignment with what you feel you should have then. If anything, I feel like it's just proof of the growth that you've had as a person, because if you can stand here and look back and say, I shouldn't have done that, or I would have done it differently, then you can see how you've progressed. That version of you is not the same version of you today. And so being able to not just have the awarenesses, but actually then be able to go back to where there's that unresolved conflict and heal that part of you will really profoundly affect your evolution as a soul.
Wow. I totally feel like I get that, by the way. And I feel like a lot of what you're talking about has been coming into the awareness in our group, right? In the LIONSGATE group. It feels like a theme of this whole season, if you want to put it that way, because one of the things we talked about, because we had a little chat before we came on, you know, what we don't know was one of the things that you said. We don't know what we don't know, right? And one of the things I said back is, like, when we do know, we do better, don't we? You know, a good friend of mine used to say that. And one of the,
and that,
yeah,
Yeah,
one of the questions I also wanted to ask you is like, how can what we don't know be hindering our soul's expression? What would that be, Crystal?
You know, there's so many things that happen to us over our lifetime. And if they're unresolved, they're playing in the background subconsciously. And when we are in a trauma state, that is always going to trump our actions, because we literally feel in that moment that we're making a life or death decision. And so our system gets hijacked, our nervous system gets hijacked. And so it's not just awareness is the thing. It's that's step one. If we can actually recognize where this is coming from and how the pattern begins, then we can actually go back and do what we need to do to resolve it, because that's what happens in our life. We go, why can't I have what I want, right? I want to save the world. My soul tells me I need to save the world, and I need to have a healing center, and I need to do all these things, but I can't seem to do it. Well, why?
Right. That's a big question, especially in the spiritual community where we have a lot of vision, but yet some people might find it difficult to land the stuff that actually there's still things that we don't know that want to be seen and acknowledged and moved through, right?
And that's where it's personal. That's where I can say, yes, there are common things, right? There's levels that we're going to see, and there's things that are going to keep us from fully embodying a space, but it's personal. What you're choosing to hang on to is directly what's keeping you from having what you want, but getting to the root of what that is, where that conflict is, and recognizing the actual levels and where you personally have the issue to resolve. So it is a process of vulnerability, of honesty, but ultimately it catapults you to have what it is that you want in this reality.
Absolutely. This very much when I'm feeling into it, it works on the mind and the energy. Does it work on the body? Does that filter through to the body as well?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Your subconscious is tied to your body. So if you have things that are manifesting, those can be directly indicating that there's something that is literally stuck in you. When you think of like emotions, right? They're supposed to move through. And if we're hanging on to something, even if we're not conscious of it, it's going to over time create a physical something. And really that's information. That's information for you. So a good question to ask, say you did have something manifest, an illness manifest. What happened, say 3 years ago in your life? Was there a big significant event that happened, say 3 years ago in your life that you have not come to completion around?
That is interesting. Yes. This for me feels as well, and guide me into that. It feels like, you know, the timeline healing, clearing, where we're seeing where there's a point in time and somehow something became paralyzed or something became stuck or festered, and manifestation. So this levels of consciousness is helping us discover what it is and how to unlock it. Is that kind of a good way to put it?
That's a perfect way to put it, because say something occurs and it's too much for us to handle in that moment, right? We're not going to shame that version of ourselves. We've grown from then to now. But now we can go back to the fridge and pull that food out that's probably really stinky because it's been sitting there for a few years. But now we can actually process it and deal with it. But of course, it's been stinking things up, right? So yeah, it's affected our reality. Even if we pretend it's not there, because we can close the fridge and you know, it's still there.
I love that. Close the fridge. You got to clean the fridge out first. It's still in the fridge. You can ignore it, but it's still there, right?
Okay.
I know, Crystal, that part of what you were saying as well is this might be a 2-part workshop, and there will be a quiz available for people if they want to explore this personally further on. And that's part of the how as well. Isn't that true? I just want to say that kind of quickly in here.
Yeah, like I said, there's a level of understanding, and that's critical. That's important. This first class is gonna rock your world. It's gonna change the way that you perceive the world and everyone that you interact with on a daily basis. It's not just informative, but for me, it was really healing. But then the application of it is so important, and that's where it is that personal journey. Like, if you really want to step into this and utilize what is being offered, then it's about taking that personal journey. And so there is a second part to this if you want to see where you're at and where you're stuck, and look at what's in the fridge.
Yeah. You've done this on your own journey. What has it unlocked for you, Crystal?
Wow, it's so powerful. Oh my goodness. Things, I just have to say this out of love. I think because we have awarenesses, we as the community that is typically drawn to classes like this, we have awarenesses and we can see out here. So we think we've made it. We think we're there, right? But like I said, you can't fully embody. It's not just the awareness. You can't fully embody it until you've done your own work.
Yeah.
So for me, it was super revealing, because even though I thought, oh, I'm here, that's me. Yeah, that's true. I do have that awareness, but I'm not fully embodying it because I haven't finished this. So it was actually extremely eye-opening for me and humbling, because I can't shortchange it.
Right.
I can't skip a level. There's a lesson there that I'm trying to avoid, right?
Hands up who's tried skipping levels, right?
Right.
I suppose one of the words they use is bypassing. Isn't that a really common word that we hear? And yeah, and it's easy to do if we don't even know we're doing it. Right?
It blew my mind. And I have chills saying that, because I've tried for so many years things I'm like, I should have learned that already, or I thought I did learn that already. But then I'm like, well, yeah, I know all this stuff, but I can't fully live here because I haven't completed over here. So, like I said, I say this with all due respect, but oftentimes we are not fully embodying where we think we are because there's stuff over here.
Yeah, absolutely. It was one of the major parts of my journey, Crystal, is like avoidance, these patterns that would show up every now and again, like avoidance, repressing, disassociation, numbing out, and living one's life essentially on a pattern of, you're doing your thing, you think you're growing, something happens, a challenge comes our way, and suddenly like, oof.
Right.
Yeah, and what can happen is you get stuck there a little bit longer than you really want to be, right, in that numbing out, because it's hard to come out of that. So
well, and what you said was critical. When shit hits the fan, when something happens, you're going to divert back to that incomplete level.
Yes.
That's where you're going to go.
Yes.
Every time. And that's the opportunity to complete it, right?
That's why it's happening. It's a gift, right?
It's a gift. So that saying, life happens for us. And sometimes it's so hard to feel that way.
Yes.
And taking accountability for what shows up in our life from the space of, okay, if I can honor my soul and look at this from why I'm actually here, then I can appreciate those lessons, not in this human space, but from up here, that I'm actually trying to move myself forward, move the needle forward, because we need a surface to push up against, right?
The ceiling, we want to raise the ceilings, and as we raise the ceilings, raise the basements, the low. Yeah.
And it's the pendulum too. And I'm sorry to say, sometimes it takes those really hard, deep spots to really catapult us up. And we're definitely at choice, whether we choose to be empowered or be victimized of this human experience. But, the second that I take myself up to that soul level, and I can be like, how is this happening for me? How can I look at this through the empowered lens? What am I perceiving as stuck or hard, or, you know what I mean? There's always other ways. How can I be in flow with this?
Yes. And a lot of it is our perception, like you said, you mentioned.
It is.
Really,
If you can't even see that there's so many other ways that things can work or how it's working in your favor. And when we interact with people on a daily basis and recognize that this is where they live, we can have so much more compassion for them and just trust their journey and their process, because we can now understand where they are, not just because we've been there, but like truly see this is what this class is going to do. Like in a huge way, you will see where other people are.
Which means you're coming at them from a different vantage point again. You're coming at that relationship, that situation, that experience. And it'll flow different because of that, won't it?
I absolutely will. This will change your life, I promise.
It's reality shifting.
It just instills in you this thing that can never be taken away. Like once you have this, you'll always have it. And I think that's the most important work we can do, is learning to live more consciously within ourselves and recognizing the connection that we really do all have and share. And I know that's a common thing that we talk about in a community like this, but how does that actually translate here now in this reality, in this day and age, in this time? And that's how. This is what it's going to bring about.
Love it. Thank you for sharing that with us. And I know that what you will be bringing into the workshop will facilitate a lot of people into that greater like awareness, that knowing, the acknowledgement, because that's the first step, acknowledging. So part of your workshop will be helping people to self-introspect, right? To know that. And I know then you'll have a little step further available for people if they really want to go deep and diagnose, if that's the proper word, Crystal, perhaps analyze, I don't know what the proper word is there, and they can work personally with you on that as well. So that sounds amazing, and what an opportunity for this community to join your class. And I want to mention that you are part of a triad hosting this. You're main hosting, and you have a beautiful co-host with and Conscious Orca with Morella and Linda Sell as well. So that's a powerful triad of souls there. It's going to be amazing.
They're amazing women. Yes.
Is there anything else that needs and wants to be shared with anybody that would like to join this workshop?
You know, I think this is just that calling out of like the time is now. And if you truly feel ready to expand in a way that you haven't before and you feel ready, then the time is now.
It is. This type of information, and of course, because you're embodying it, Crystal, you've done a lot of that work, you have that energy in your field. People entering into that workshop will start naturally getting into that, right? I want to kind of lay this out because what you're offering has been divinely guided into this space. The 0808 gateway is a stargate opening. It's one that's opening once again. And part of the messaging that's been coming through, right, as a channel now, just in the broader perspective, has been that type of work that you're providing is so important right now. It's that next up leveling, and you use the word embodiment, because we're here not to be out there up with the stars or the star tribes, but to be down here creating it. And how can we create if we're stuck? How can we create if we're blocked? How can we create if we're in suffering or in pain? And part of what you're bringing is enabling people, enabling communities to see that with the broader perspective, see that with new eyes, see that there is a way how, because often we're like, I know this, but I don't know how.
Right.
What's the how? Well, you have the showing of the how, the telling of the how, and that's a key for people to access. So thank you for bringing that into this space. And thank you for joining us. Woo!
Thank you so much.
Aki ama sa tukuya si inima sa tukwai. Thank you, my love. And everybody, a little recap. 7th of August, put it in the diary. Registration link is below, register now. Starts at 12 o'clock with opening ceremony, and that is GMT +1 UK time, Irish time. It finishes at 7:30 that evening. It runs all day long, several concurrent workshops at once, right? So you can choose the one you want to attend at any given hour. Finishing at 7:30, 12 to 7:30. You can go to all of it, you can go to one of it. Of course, we have an option here for you to join Crystal's levels of consciousness and how it translates into this dimensional reality. The timetables for the, after registration, you'll be sent the timetables. You'll be able to click exactly which one you want. It is a free event. Donations are accepted. It is a free event. Post the event, if you would like to receive recordings of anything that you didn't get to attend, each session is £7, so reasonable. Or of course you can buy the whole bundle, 15 of them so far anyway, for £22. There'll also be course materials, exercise workbooks, and some courses for those who couldn't host live. They'll also have developed course workshops for you. There is so much being given to expand our minds, expand our hearts, and bring us into that next level of embodiment. Crystal, thank you for being with me.
So excited, looking so forward to it.
Can't wait. Bye, everybody.
Bye.